we'll be going over how to prepare for and survive finals, and the panelists will give their experience. And now I'm going to introduce the panelists. So our first panelist is Danielle. So Danielle, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, howdy. My name is Daniel Guerson. I'm an electrical engineer. I'm a junior.
Hi, my name is Ellie. I'm majoring in ag communications and journalism, and I'm a senior.
Hi, my name is Sean, and I'm a junior here. I'm majoring in petroleum engineering.
Howdy, my name is Santiago, and I'm majoring in environmental geoscience, and I'm a senior.
And our last panelist is Mabry, and she's majoring in business and marketing. And Mabry is not here because Mabry will be late. So we're going to move to our first question. What test-taking strategies do you suggest?
Sorry, are we?
Yeah, so if any of the panelists just want to jump on, or yeah, just unmute if you have something you want to add.
So for test taking strategies, like I like to, before every test, I like to breathe or like do some burpees or push-ups or something, just to get like oxygen moving in my body or something. Because I feel like sometimes I'm study all day, so I'm sitting down, like I don't have like my blood moving and my brain is not working properly. So I like to do some movement or go for a walk so I can activate my body.
Something that I do on tests is it kind of depends on what subject it is, but if it's like a class that has a variety of questions like multiple choice and fill in the blank, then I'll kind of skip around and see which ones I know for sure, and I'll knock those out and get them answered first, and that way I can focus on the harder questions towards the end.
Yeah, to add on to what Ellie said, I think that's really helpful because it builds confidence when you know that when you're answering those questions and you're like, oh, I know this one, I know this one. And then you go back to the ones that you don't know, but you already did the ones that you did know. So your mentality is focused. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree with what they said. Like, just do what you know first, and like you have more time to spend on the ones that you're not really too sure about. And so, that's what I do.
And before we move on, does anyone want to say something? And if not, we're going to move to the second question. So, what advice would you give to students who have finals with the different formats, which include multiple choice or short answer or essay or practical laboratory exam?
I had a class last spring, and it was a class that had a lot of free response, and it had only a couple multiple choice mixed in there. And I would kind of suggest doing the free response first, because a lot of times professors will look for very specific answers in those, and they want something that's very specific and detailed. And so if you do the free response first, you can kind of get that question in your head. And then when you go back to the multiple choice, then it sometimes will give you hints to the free response, or kind of like trigger some ideas on the free response so you can go back and add things, and that way your brain's kind of already thinking about them so that you can give a really detailed, specific answer.
Going on what Ellie said, yeah, if you do free response first, like you get your mind thinking, and most of the time, like multiple choice questions are going to be conceptual. So like as you do the free response, like you'll start like picking up on like, okay, so like this is what they're gonna be talking about, blah blah blah. And like the free response to me like is easier because like you know you get to see like work out whatever, or depending on what class it is. But like for me, since most of my classes are like math based, you get to work out the problems, and like by doing that, it helps you with multiple choice, where it's like asking, okay, what's the reasoning behind like what you did in the free response.
Yeah, going off of that, like I guess for multiple choice, like a lot of my tests are all multiple choice as a business major, and I feel like a lot of like, oh, multiple choice does not mean you won't be working out or having to do business, like what color is an elephant, you know, like you actually have to think about it. And I think like I've heard for a lot of from like I'm an RA in Kruger, and a lot of my freshmen have told me that like they wish they had like actually studied the material because it's not high school. So I guess like my advice would be like actually study, even if it is all multiple choice or even if it is just 4 questions or whatever, because typically that just means it's still going to be hard. It's just going to trip you up if you don't study.
So, any of the panelists want to add before we move on to question number 3? So our third question is, in your experience, how would you suggest that students prioritize one final over another?
I was sorry, so to read the syllabus and make sure like know how much is worth that final. It's important. And you know sometimes for some classes you need like a 30 on the final to get an A, or if you get 100 on the final you will not get an A neither, so you will still get a B. And in other finals if you do pretty good you can still hit the A. So I would say read the syllabus and play right about which one deserves more your attention.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I can be really bad about prioritizing things. I was taking a chemistry class my freshman year, and it was super hard, and I had a really easy music class that I was taking with it. And so I really prioritized that chem class, but I could have done really well in the music final because it was a simple, easy class if I'd put more time into it. So I would just say make sure that you leave enough study time in advance so that way you can balance out your classes and not just focus all on one at the last minute, because even if it's the simple class that you think you're going to do well in, you know, the final might get there and you'll be like, oh crap, you know, I didn't study enough for this one because I was spending too much time on the hard class. So just make sure that you don't overlook the easier classes, and you put not necessarily equal time, but you put enough time into them to do well also.
So does any of the panelists want to add before we move on to the next question? So question number 4, how far in advance would you suggest that students to study for their finals?
I mean, like, you kind of have an advantage this semester because, like, typically you don't really get that big of a gap. I mean, like, I know some people that are, like, completely done with their second rounds of exams and their next round isn't until, like, December. So you kind of have, like, 4 weeks to study, or well, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks to study. And I think that, like, if you know that if one exam is, like, literally the 30th, like, the day after Thanksgiving is done, like, you should probably, like, start studying. Most people had, like, 3 exams and that was it, and that they're done until, like, November 30th, December 1st. So I feel like if you have that gap, do that. And then if you don't, like, I'm not gonna say, like, spend all your time studying, like, be real, because, like, so easy for your brain to just kind of all of that information you just spent a long time looking over, and then you get to the final and you're like, I thought I remembered all this. So I guess, like, I don't know, like a week or two before.
Yeah, so for me, like, I finished all my labs like this week, so I'm probably gonna start studying around next week for all my finals, because all my classes I have 3 exams, like 2 midterms and 1 final. So, like, I just finished my examinations too. So, like, having that, like, extra, like, 2 weeks would be pretty nice. So I'd say, like, depending on, like, your class schedule, like, just look over the syllabus, see when your exam is, instead of maybe like a week and a half before, and, like, you should be all right.
Yeah, I would just like to say that it kind of adds to question 3, but study like little chunks. It doesn't have to be like one day of studying like what you would imagine. Just revisiting the material a little bit so that you don't lose it or don't remember it during Thanksgiving. Just 30 minutes of revisiting that material and prioritizing what exam you have. Just little by little, I think it's helpful.
Yeah, I will say if because everyone's schedule is different, so if you don't have like 4 weeks to study to like a final, like if you're doing your homework and doing all the assignments and going to class, I think you will be okay eventually if you study with less time in advance.
If no one has anything to add, we can move to question 5. What do you do on a typical day of studying for a final?
So, like, something I do is that before I start studying, I'll like, just do something I enjoy, like either like going for a walk or like playing a video game, like, just uh, like, relax my mind and, get ready for studying. And, like, pretty much what I do is, like, I study in chunks too, because if you like all day, like, you're gonna get burnt out and not good. So, like, you study like maybe like an hour or so, take a break, like a 5-10 minute break, go back to it, and just, like, make sure, like, you pace yourself. That's, like, the most
Yeah,
important
I read a study, I can't remember where I read it from, but it was like the reason we don't like doing menial tasks like studying or cleaning our room or doing, like, chores is because we're not getting a dopamine rush. And, like, our generation is so fixated on, like, dopamine rushes and, like, when's the next time we can check our phone and, like, the movies that we watch, the video games. So I feel like if you have an incentive of, like, okay, I'm gonna study this chapter and go over these notes in this lecture, and I know it's going to take me 45 minutes, then you do that, and then you'd be like, after that, I'm going to go eat something I enjoy, or I'm going to go do this, because that dopamine rush is like our brains are always waiting for that next rush because we're so trained to that. And so if you have that to look forward to, your brain is going to be more likely. You have to train your brain to do it, obviously, but, like, your brain is going to be more likely to do it. And honestly, like, I've been doing it the last 9 months and it's worked for me. So it's been really, really interesting. But like, I don't know what everybody enjoys doing, but like, I don't know. That's something that I do.
I would definitely agree with that. Whenever I have to look forward to after, I have incentive because it makes me buckle down a little bit more. And I also suggest, because we're so, with Corona, we're so stuck in our apartments and stuff. I just definitely suggest going somewhere whenever you're studying that's not your bedroom, because whenever you're in your bedroom, you can get really easily distracted on TV or your phone. And if you kind of specifically choose somewhere to go to study, then you're more likely to just sit there and be like, okay, I took the effort to get here, so I'm actually going to put work in instead of getting distracted by your pet or your video game or something like that.
One thing that helps me a lot is it's similar to what's already been mentioned, but it's the Pomodoro technique, which is 28 minutes. You set a timer, it's 28 minutes, and you focus. And whenever the timer rings, you can do whatever you want for 5 minutes, like go on a walk or put your laundry or whatever for 5 minutes, get your mind off it, and then you sit back down and you do it again. You set your time.
Especially in math, when like things that I cannot see, like other people can see it and we can work it out together, and they can teach me some stuff and I can teach them other stuff. And also it motivates you because you're not alone and you will not pull up your phone and start like going through Instagram or something.
So, do you panelists want to share something before we move on to the next question? Our next question is, what materials or resources did you use to study for an exam?
For me, this really depends on the class. If it's like a math or a science or something that you're going to be working on a lot of problems, then I suggest using a lot of scratch paper to physically write it out. I mean, sometimes you can do stuff on the computer or a tablet, but for me, actually physically writing stuff down with pen and paper, it actually helps to remember things. And even if it's just a class that doesn't have any problems, even if I'm just physically copying down words, then that helps a lot. So I just kind of suggest physically getting out actual paper, actual pencils or pens, and writing stuff instead of maybe copying notes on your computer, just because it helps to get your muscles actually connecting with your brain and stuff.
Yeah, for me, I mostly, I don't deal with math or physics. I work with a lot of concepts, and like some of those are just really confusing because like there's sub-concepts to the concepts, and then there's more than that. So like what I like to do is like, because of COVID, most of my classes are online, so they post their lectures. So if I'm like super confused, I just go back to the lecture and rewatch it, or like put it on 2 point speed and just like try to get to the spot where I know I'm like, oh, that's what I'm looking for, and re-listen to that. And honestly, like I bombed my first econ exam, and now like my second one was like way better. I think I got like a 95 on it or something. And honestly, like I'm pretty sure it's just because I went back and actually went and was like, okay, I probably need to like understand these concepts. So that really helped, and it's kind of nice because usually they don't have like an online lecture you can go rewatch.
I know for me, a lot of my professors are recording their lectures, so if I'm stuck or something, I just go back and like rewatch what they're doing, and that's really been helping me so far. That's like the advantage that we have like with COVID, because last semester, like, before COVID hit, if you didn't know it, like you'd have to go to office hours and just like hope for the best. But like now, like you have office hours and like some classes are recorded, so like that's the advantage I use to study.
Yeah, I think to study I also like to like challenge myself. I pretend I do like an exam, and when I'm doing, I realize I'm not ready, so I go back to that thing that I didn't do well in my practice exam, like my first, like the one that I made for myself.
So, does any panelist still want to add something before we move on to question number 7? So, what are some good study spaces, and why do you find them good?
Well, I think before COVID, I used to have my study spaces like Weisenbaken building or library, stuff like that. But now I think like a lot of people have mentioned already, like studying your room is a little bit hard, and I'm very distracted person. So I think like if I study in my room, I put some classic music, and I think that helps me to concentrate in studying. But other than that, I will go to a library of Weisenbaker building or Starbucks.
I really like to study outside. I live at White Creek, and we have some pretty nice tables out in the courtyards. And for me, just being outside kind of makes me feel better already because I don't feel like I'm trapped in my room in the four walls, staring at a computer all day. And so whenever I can be like outside with my computer, then it helps me a lot because I can just feel like the outside air, and it kind of helps me to focus too because I'm not distracted again by things in my room or and stuff like that. And so that's kind of an option, and plus it's COVID friendly because you're spaced from other people and you're not in a busy library or something.
I know that like Sweet Eugene's is just so fun to study at, and their red velvet chava shake, like I could drink 5 of those in a day. I also really love POV. Like right in front of POV is this like really nice covered area with a bunch of benches, and then like I'm pretty sure it's closed. It might have been open, but the annex, everybody forgets about Evans Annex all the time, and nobody's ever there. And it's like it's way nicer than Evans. I think it might be. I don't know. Sorry if it's close. Or like the learning center, like right above the quad bucks, is amazing, and everybody forgets that it's there. Although I've heard that it's been a little bit more busy because of COVID, like people have discovered it, which kind of sucks. But yeah, or like the tents that they've put outside, that's just really cool. We didn't have that last year, so that's really fun.
Are there any other study spaces that the panelists would like to share? So we're going to move on to the next question. Have you experienced exam stress, and how did you cope with it?
Before I even get to that point, I try to avoid it. So I try to study little by little, like I've mentioned before. But if I do get in that moment, like if I'm having like that exam stress, which I have had, I focus on one thing, which is the first exam, and I study a little bit of that, and then a little bit of the next exam. And once I finish that exam, I'm on to the next one. But I try to just concentrate on the next exam, and you can't do nothing about it if you're already in that position. So that's what I think. That's how I see it.
I mean, I think we've all probably experienced some form of exam stress, but mine almost always stems from having a lack of knowledge on the subject material. And so whenever I was a science major and I was taking like one of the hard chemistry classes, a lot of my stress just came from the fact that I just didn't genuinely know the material. And so I went to a tutor and she helped me a ton. And so I did a weekend of sessions with her. And after kind of buckling down and understanding the material, the stress went away a lot. And so I'd say you kind of just figure out what your stress is coming from and then work on tackling it, whether it's just having an extreme amount of material to cover or if it's just not understanding concepts. It's never too late to ask someone to help you out. I mean, even if you're at the end of the semester and you've never talked to your professor, it's not too late to ask them for help. I mean, they're always, that's what you're paying them for. They're there for that. And so I just recommend just not being afraid to go and get help on material if you're struggling with that.
Yeah. And going off of that, like, I'm gonna be honest, I was like, I just need a C so I can change my math grade to pass fail. And I was so stressed about it. And so like for my last semester or my last like few weeks, I was like, okay, she has office hours. I probably should go to them. And honestly, like, that's probably what got me to a C, was going to those. And like, that's the reason I passed econ last semester, because I went every single week, because like, it was so easy to like disassociate from the class because it was online, and my brain would be like, oh, it doesn't exist because it's online. And so it was really helpful for me to just like go and actually, like, first of all, there were several other people at the office hours because everybody was struggling really hard. And second of all, like, it honestly helped because, like, sorry y'all, but Chegg can only do so much. Like at some point you just have to like actually ask for help, and that was really hard for me. But I got a 4.0 last semester, so that's probably why, because I actually asked for help. So you should do it.
Yeah, I agree. I like to add that sometimes like you feel like, I think they mentioned before, that you feel a stress for an exam because you like legit don't know the material, but probably you're not the only one that doesn't know the material. So sounds bad, but like a lot of people might don't know the material, and the average of the exam is not going to be the like the best. So you're going to be fine, I think.
Yeah, so like what was said already, like it was just like ask for help. Like because I'm pretty sure that like you're not the only one who's like struggling in the class. Like, let's be honest. And like professors, like they'll help you out. Like they want you to like to get that A. They want you to succeed. So like if you just go to their office hours, like you won't be the only one. Like everyone has a question. Like so just don't be afraid to like to speak up.
So does any of the panelists want to add before we move on to the last question? So what advice would you give to people after they have taken their finals?
Breathe. At the end of the day, C's get degrees. You're going to get out of there. It's going to be okay. Like, I know so many people tell you, like, the average GPA at TAMU is 2.4. Crazy, right? It's a 2.4 at TAMU. Like, Aggies hire Aggies. You're going to be fine. At the end of the day, you actually worked for it. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like sometimes we put so much identity in our grades, and it's important to like actually try, but like go eat a biscuit or like have a cookie or something, because you actually like tried. Like, it's okay even if you don't get the A or the B, like you tried, you know? I just feel like so many people are like, well, you could have tried harder. Well, coulda, shoulda, woulda, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And I think one of the other like mistakes that I also have done is like go and check the answers, like, and that just like breaks your mind because you're thinking all the time like, oh, I'm gonna fail the exam. But at the end, like a lot of professors like know that you knew the material, you just make a little mistake and they grade pretty good. So never go and check like how do you answer the exam. and
I
go.
think that's all really good advice. I mean, for sure, I mean, once you've taken the final, that's it. You can't go back and change it. You can't do any redos for the most part, unless there's some kind of fluke thing. But yeah, definitely just go kind of try and de-stress and let yourself enjoy the end of the semester and try not to worry about it too much. I mean, everyone else is right. At the end of the day, your grade is your grade, and grades are definitely not the most important thing in the world. So
Yeah, because yeah, just like relax. Like you're done. You finished the semester, so like at the end of the day, just do whatever makes you happy, man.
Something that I do when I have, let's say, 4 finals and I finished the first one and I did really bad on it, is it's been proven to help you. You get a journal, you get a piece of paper, and you put what you think you did bad on the exam. You basically just rant at the paper, and then you throw away the paper, and that's what you left off. Like you're done with that, and to the next final. So that's helped me a lot. I know it says finals, the question specific to all the finals, but this helps me to finish the second final, and then once you finish all of them, you can do whatever you want, literally. Um, but yeah.
Do the panelists want to add something before we move on? So we are the academic peer mentors, and as a part of engagement, learning, and support for residents' life, aside from the academic peer mentor program, we offer the community learning centers, which are good study spaces where they provide computers and printers and applications for your classes. And if you need an application for a class, use the community learning center computers, and it's faster than VOWAL or the virtual open access lab. And we also offer residential tutoring via the Academic Success Center via Zoom, and they have tutors for introductory and upper level courses like biology and English or mathematics. And we are the academic peer mentors, and some of the things we offer include peer panels like this one, where you get to hear from upperclassmen on tips like time management or studying for finals. We also offer academic checkups, which are one-on-one meetings where you discuss with a mentor strategies on how to do well in classes. And if you're living on campus, we also offer programs with your resident advisors, and these are more interactive activities such as Kahoots or painting pots. And finally, we also offer our office hours, which are from 12 to 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, and we offer them at Hullabaloo 125 and Commons 102. And you can stop by to ask a quick question or to get one of our resource files about study tips or some this one. And this is our last program for the semester. And follow us on Instagram and Twitter so that you'll know of our future peer panels for the next semester. And don't forget to sign up for a one-on-one academic checkup if you would like. And here are our office hours. And besides in-person office hours, we also offer online office hours via Zoom. And thank you for attending this peer panel. I am Kyle, the moderator for this peer panel, and have a good night.
Thank you.
And before everybody leaves, make sure you signed in using that Google link. But does anybody have any other questions that they wanted to ask or anything before we hop off? Awesome. Well, if you signed in during the link, you're good to go.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you guys.